more cross-map adjustments and a lot of cool things like that is quite nice.
It gives you time to appreciate the different stacking of the players, but we do have it ready from both players, so let's count down this match 2. Game number 1.
All right, let's go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. There we go. How long will they maintain the same opener? Oh my goodness, Dan. Going for a spin tuck very early there and paying the price.
Good lord, this is
Oh my goodness.
this is 2 million stacking right now. Maybe that's his plan.
Yeah. But there we go. Kind of resolving that S-tuck setup. And now all he has to do... Okay, he has 2 long bar dependencies. Yeah, it's looking a little rough at the start. Scuti got 2 Tetrises without burning here, so Dan's just gotta make his way out of this real quick.
Yeah, Dan, bit of online facts for Dan. Made it to his first CTL playoff last season, moving all the way to the semifinals, and is also, assuming nothing has changed, the current world record holder for the highest transition in a competitive setting. He had a pretty much perfect game, took a burn, and that was it. Transition with like a 750. Still lost the game, but he got the world record, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's incredible that that has happened in competition already, and can't wait till when we get like a 1.4 into kill screen in comp. I think that might just happen one day. So
See if Dangler has anything to say about it.
yeah, Dan is really one of those players that can just push efficiency and stacking to its limits, and can really tell watching him play even 18.
Rainbow Scuti at 166. Stand with those early burns. It's gonna be slightly behind and also ahead in the line counter, while Scuti is clean, fairly efficient, 88% Tetris rate versus the 16% Tetris rate, where you need 60% to score max out.
Yeah, the 60% Tetris rate phenomenon. Do you know, like, if you were to get on 18 60% Tetris rate, I feel like that wouldn't be too good of a transition. But it's like by the end, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way 60% is like maybe like a barely 500k, maybe like a high 400. Because like you look at right now, 75% touch rate for Dan, 264. That's like 7 lines now burning. It's like it's a good game. It's just not incredible. It's still potential for 600k. But I feel like that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how low 60% actually is on 18.
Right. Yeah, I think this maybe slight misconception started where if you see 60% Tetris rate at the end of a game, it might be likely to be a max out, but that's probably because you were like 70% on 18 and like 50 whatever percent on 19. Or yeah, whatever that is, 40 something, I don't know. But yeah, 60% from 18 would not probably be that great of a transition. Although Tetris rate might be sort of faded out as a stat that people talk about a lot.
Do you think we've reached the point, right? We are in the era of rolling, you know, when we were without the line cap, there was definitely a point that like, oh, really doesn't really matter to be efficient anymore on the 18 or 19 space. We can just roll this out. Do you feel like we're going to be reaching a point where players are kind of going back to the 2019 strats of sort of going so crazy aggressive because they feel like that's what they need with how high the field we have nowadays in this community?
Probably long term we're headed somewhere in that direction is my best guess, just because right now people aren't the most consistent at playing efficiently throughout 39 or throughout 29 all the way up to 39. But probably once we reach that point, it's going to be just ramping up aggression like as we get more consistent until it just becomes super hard to get there. I was someone who sort of advocated for like level 50 line cap when line cap discussions were first started. I think I was like one of the the OG line cap people, but I was thinking about like 50 instead of like 39. It's 39 is pretty short runway, and I think someday we might see the results of that. But currently, you're probably rewarded for survival, but that might just change over time. What do you think?
Uh, I feel like, yeah, like you said, you're definitely rewarded for survival because we're at a point where if you reach, let's say, level 37, you're still behind by 100,000 points. So your opponent goes aggressive and tops out or something, you have so much leeway. You don't even have to score. You could just score 2 Tetrises in a 30 line window. And that would be enough with a couple of burns to take the game. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement right now. Stan transitions to Sentinel Tetris right now, 559, 584. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement, and players are definitely doing their best to push the limits of the efficiency in the early levels. But I don't think we're there yet. I think there still needs to be a little bit of time before people start feeling like they really have to push the limits of what they can do in efficiency.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I think you start to see glimpses of that in like some of the top matches. You're like Tristop versus Alex T, Dog versus Alex T in C2WC, where people are really pushing the aggression the whole game through, but it doesn't seem like exactly the norm yet.
Now Scuti has taken a 50-ish thousand point, potential and a half, still behind in the line counter and bring game 1 770 versus Dan's 723. So there's potential for a mid 1.2 for Scuti, maybe even a 1.3 if he goes near perfect. But Dan going for a, let's call it a high to very low 1.2 efficiency into 29. So still plenty of game to go, but fairly decent game for these two.
Definitely a bit late to call it. Dan hit really nice adjustment though, creating a T-tuck setup by sort of double flipping a J on the right, and you can tell he's stacking pretty alert and ready to react to next pieces. There we go, Koryan thing, sort of like an S into a T right there, and keeping his stack really nice and stable.
Now Scuti's going to be the one who has to dig, which is going to give Dan the opportunity to hash back up and potentially take back the lead, only behind by 30,000 points. But as I say that, Scuti is clean and is going to be Tetris ready, waiting for that long bar. Finally gets a long bar for Tetris, 913, plays 880, now 911 for Dan.
Right, so another Tetris for Scuti, bring him to 945 at 195. Nice way to make room for the square by Scuti. So 1.2 is possible for him into kill screen, and just barely, or no longer possible for Dan, it looks like. So he's going to be going for 1.1.
1.1 is still decent, but in terms of Scuti right now, could get a high 1.2 with his efficiency. Taking a couple of burns, so going to be like a mid 1.2 at this point, but now with a max out 1.05, 985, so we're going to be seeing the first of what these two can do in 29 play today.
There we go. So Scuti has 2 more burns for the 1.2, and Dan could get maybe a 1.15 here with 1 burn. Scuti, though, is going to be burning a little bit, so it might be Dan's chance to catch up into kill screen, while Scuti needs to try to get his stack in line fast before kill screen.
Yeah, this is very problematic for Scuti. He has 3 lines to burn before 29. This is going to be a double, and needs 1 more single. It's going to transition with a burn with that double. Gets a JP's right on time. JP's dependency solved there. Dan is Tetris ready. Banging on a Tetris. Takes the lead now with 1.17. So here we go. First one I transition between these two players.
And just shooting pieces over to the left side and getting Tetris ready as soon as he can, but that one didn't work out right there, and now it's up to Scuti. Put on a little bit of aggression. You can see Scuti's really consistent with these Tetris setups. Gets one right there. That's 30,000 point lead for Scuti, and Dan's just trying to clean his way out and get towards another Tetris wall.
Yeah, Scuti going very aggressive in these early levels. It did pay out, but maybe that could be the name of the game for Dan. Hoping for a bad sequence of pieces for Scuti if he tries to set up for a Tetris again, and potentially leads to an early top out or a set of digs. Scuti right now with a 1.331, though 1.5 Tetris is in the lead. Bursting with wall bars.
Wow. Scuti had a nice column 2 Tetris to get down there, taking just that burn with the T. Oh my goodness, Dan They've both gotten 2 Tetrises in these past couple levels, and maintaining that lead was Scuti, but now Dan's back within a Tetris with a Tetris on 34. So approaching the 1.4 mark. Both players have a little bit of cleaning up to do. Dan with the L dependency. Gets it though.
Dan was almost set up for a dirty Tetris, but didn't get the right pieces in time, so I had to burn this down. Gets a nice 5 tapped in with a J piece. You gotta be looking to get Tetris ready. Just go for the flat burns. That's Scuti in a bit of trouble here with 1.4.
Scuti needs something left.
Yeah. Oh.
Hangs a J.
Hangs it, and that's gonna do it for Scuti, topping out with 1.45. So Dan, 1.45 is the score to beat. Has all the time in the world to beat this down.
And this is probably just about fully line-outable, like 1 triple. Might be enough. But a Tetris would definitely be safe. And he's Tetris ready, but just needs a long bar. He's getting a little scary sometimes.
Oh no, running out of time. Has 8 lines to go and only 13,000 points left to score. To beat this score.
He is Tetris ready now. He needs the bar though.
Kevin Lover gets a 30-ball Tetris.
Wow.
Incredible from Dan. Clutching it out.
End 38.
Yeah, clutching it out in the final lines. Taking game 1 in our borrow. Thank you so much for the $20 contribution. Bringing our total up to $1,071. Let's see if we can get this total up to $1,100. A lot of potential, but it's just game 1. Plenty of game to go. Plenty of match to go. I mean, this is still anybody's game. So let's count down game number 2.
Sir, let's go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. See what kind of opener we get. Oh my goodness. So Dan sort of chucking everything to the left side. Scuti has an adjustment-esque opener mid sort of an O-shaped hole on the left, and Dan's stack was unstable for a bit there, but yeah, both players just ending up clean for that first Tetris.
Scuti on Twitch saying, by the way, you guys are doing great on comms. Thank you for the kind word.
You stay.
Yeah. Dan, okay. I need somebody to kind of fact check me on this before I spew a bunch of crap. Did Dog win season 24, or was that Andy? Because I know there was like an Arteaga Brothers dynasty for a while, but I don't know if Glue won season 24 because there's something that I want to mention. But first, I need a fact check. I don't know if somebody on Twitch is aware.
I'm not sure personally.
Let me see if I can check myself.
Dog won.
Okay. So here's a bit of all the facts I want to mention. Dog won season 24. Dan beat Dog in the quarterfinals of season 25 to move on to the semifinals. Scuti won season 25. This is season 26 now in the quarterfinals. Dan once again facing off against the reigning champ and has taken the first game. Has taken first blood, so let this be a continuation.
It's actually quite funny. I do love facts like those because I got to make some outlandish claims. For me, one that I like is Eric eliminated me from CTWC 2021 and then won CTWC 2022. Fractal eliminated me from 22 and won 23. And then Tetris Time eliminated me from 23. So unfortunately that streak was broken, but it was a perfect predictor before that if you beat me, you're going to win the next year. All I'm saying is, the facts are there. And Scuti he might top that. He doesn't get the long range.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
Gets
the Elbrum, but still needs something.
Oh, that's going to do it for Scuti. Oh, no. That's going to do it. And Dan has taken game 2. The reigning champ on the ropes. Both players are ready, so let's count down game number 3. Can Dan sweep our reigning champion? Count it down.
All right, let's go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. Match point for Dan. What I do like to say, though, is Scuti, it may feel like his back's against the wall, but if you can consider momentum to be a factor, then just think of this game as the only one that matters. And if you win this game, the momentum's on your side, and winning is the only thing you can do. So you just got to try your best.
Oh, Dan starting off with a Lombard dependency, have to cover up that dependency. That's a triple, so it's going to be clean now. And both they're solving that J dependency. So yeah, Scuti's still in it, regardless of what the score is right now. We've seen crazy things happen. We've seen reverse sweeps where we thought that it would be lights out before here in the CTL, and Scuti is definitely with the potential to show us what he's capable of.
Right. At this point, when you're up 2-0 or down 2-0, mental can play a huge factor. If you were to ask, oh, could Scuti ever sweep DanV? I mean, yeah, it could happen, right? But we're not in a vacuum. It's Dan up 2-0, and Scuti needs to do it on the spot. So you really have to take it one game at a time, and we'll see how things turn out. But I could definitely see this game coming down to some late 29, and both players putting on a show here.
Is it just me, right? Would I prefer? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not just trying to cope. I prefer being down 2-0 than being up 2-0 because I think just the fact that I feel like I don't know. There's just something about like crumbling under pressure of like about to win and then you end up getting reverse swept. Whereas like if you're down 2-0, it's just sort of like, okay, let's play game 3 as if it's my last match, if it's my last game, and then if I end up winning that game 3 and I lose game 4, it's like, oh, I didn't get swept. I was gonna lose, but I put a bit of a fight. Whereas if it was like I won game 2 and then ended up getting swept or reverse swept, it's just sort of like, man, damn, you know?
Right. I think I prefer the motivation of being up or of being down 2-0 to the, I guess, uneasiness of being up 2-0.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you can like sort of erase the context from your head and just play the best you can, then being up 2-0 is so much better that like it's got to be preferable. But I do know what you mean. I do feel sometimes energized if I need to reverse sweep.
Maybe that's exactly what Scuti needs, that set of that boost to be like, I need to play for my life, basically. This is my back-to-backs on the line. Money's on the line. I need money. So we'll see what he can do here. 380 for Scuti, 378 for Dan.
Some people in chat play better when they're winning. Yeah, I guess it depends on the person.
That is definitely a hot take. If I win, it's because I'm playing better. Scuti right now is pretty clean. Looks like both players fairly neck and neck. Danny the slight lead over Scuti. Chen right now asking, is the prize winner takes all? No. Top 4, which is going to be our semifinalists, will get a cut of the prize pool money. So, the quarterfinals basically get nothing until, unless we ever reach a point where like we consistently make a lot of money into the prize pool. It's going to stay into the top 4. So this is a battle to see who gets a cut of the prize money.
And Dan trying to keep that hope alive. He had sort of a desperate stack there, but found a Tetris and a bit of a way to burn out of it. His pace is really nice from both players. It's Dan doing a bit of burning, but still 500 at early 100 lines, so transitions in the 600s possible.
Almost set up a weird accidental delayed bits there on the column 3 after that hang with an L piece, but it's going to be Tetris ready now. Both players are getting droughted again.
Oh, 10. Oh my goodness, misdrop on the J, but he hit a double tuck with an O piece, and that's sort of a frame perfect movement. You have to hit 2 taps within 3 frames.
Scuti forced to cover up his right well with that burst of S pieces. Is gonna be Tetris ready now, and Dan with a 30 Tetris in the transition with a 582. Scuti will transition momentarily. And Mr. Shadow with the $100 contribution into the prize pool. As Scuti transitions with a $599, bringing our total up to $1,100 and $1,171. I can't read. Thank you so much.
Shout out everyone who's contributing. I'm sure the players appreciate it, and making these kind of tournaments a lot of fun, high stakes.
Yeah, definitely. Scuti is definitely doing what he needs to do here. Stan maybe feeling a bit of a nerves, knowing that he's ahead 2-0, about to sweep. I've been seeing a lot of misdrops from him and just weird placements that are uncharacteristic, especially from the first two games. Well, game 2 was kind of early top out, but game 1 especially.
Dan is sort of getting his way out of this burn, though. It's Scuti who has pretty much a substantial lead at this point, about 90,000 points. And Dan clearing up his stack. Okay, they're both now clean and Tetris ready.
Yeah, getting droughted once again, 18 and counting. And with that 18-piece drought, we'll bang down Tetris for both. 755, 3.5 Tetris, but 3 Tetris in the lead is Scuti versus Dan, who has 668. Scuti with some very uncomfortable pieces, though, forced into a couple of burns.
Yeah, kind of some bursty droughts here. It looks like Dan's been holding out for a while and didn't get it. Scuti's had to cover as well.
Yeah, Scuti had a Lombard dependency and had to cover it up and create a combination of burn sequences to try and bring this down. He does just nicely. 798 hits the S spin and gets another Lombard, solves the dependency.
You can see, though, Dan within 2 Tetrises. I think he hit a dirty left well and then opened up his well and got a Tetris to bring down his stack. Now he's within striking distance, but having to burn, so it's a little tough.
Looks like both players are feeling a bit of a brunt of these sequence of pieces, just trying to get Tetris ready or open up their stack, but they get the wrong piece like right as soon as they're about to get clean. And Dan once again getting bursted with square pieces, as I mentioned, getting fired in the center.
Jeez. And hangs a Z over to the left. That's going to probably cost him a lot of burns if he takes this all the way down.
Yeah, and Scuti now ahead by 152,000 points. So if Scuti can just survive 29 and at least score a few Tetrises here and there, force DanV to play as efficiently as possible, this could be the opportunity that he needs.
Right, Scuti been Tetris ready for a minute now, but coming up on nearly a 30 drought. There is the Tetris for Scuti. He's up 250k in the kill screen, and Dan has 1 Tetris to make up here. There it is. So Dan kill screening at 839. Meanwhile, Scuti has a max out, and another Tetris brings him almost to 1.1.
Dan is Tetris brings out a Tetris 879, still behind by 6.5 Tetrises as Scuti at level 30. So here we go. Could this be Scuti's final game of the season? Going aggressive, not going for the triple, goes for the Tetris and gets rewarded for it. Dan in a bit of trouble here. He has to burn this down as Lombard defense, and Scuti in a lot of trouble. 5 taps that Lombard to the left. Needs a T-piece, but gets the combination of S's and Z's to bring this down.
Wow, it's interesting to see Scuti throwing this level of aggression with this big of a lead. It's Dan who has a lot of score to make up here, but Scuti's really trying to put it out of reach. However, Dan hangs the Z to the left, and with that Lombard not making it over, that's going to be it at 9-11, and Scuti's already well over that threshold.
Yeah, very nicely done here from Scuti. Broom at hand, avoids the sweep, looks to force this decider for game 4, and his back-to-back dream is still alive. So we're going to see him lowering here out a little bit, and the 1.26 at level 34 as Dan's going to do some 29 warm-up.
Yeah, great game from Scuti despite arguably a pretty bad seed that had both of them scoring pretty poorly into kill screen. Scuti doing work on 29.
Was this still one? Is this still rollover possible? Never mind. Now with that double.
I should probably learn the 29 margins of what you can score. Oh, I think it was.
It is. It is still. Wait, it's still possible. I think, right?
Yeah. If you go perfect, this is definitely possible.
One bar. There you go. One more. Come on, give him one more. No.
Did not go for the bit there, so.
Nicely done there. 1.54 for Scuti. All right, we have it ready for both players. So could this be once again Scuti's final game of the season, or will he clutch up the decider? Count it down for game 4.
Go in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. So this is the kind of thing we were talking about a little bit, is if you can take these one game at a time, now it's arguably Scuti with the momentum and who has everything to gain by winning this one right here, but it is always one game at a time. Dan could put it away right here.
Yeah, but now we're in a bit of a situation for Scuti starting off with a drought. What is it with these droughts? What is happening?
32 drought already at the start of the game.
We've been seeing a lot of hefty droughts, not just in this set, but also between Dog versus Neko.
43.
Jesus. I've never seen droughts happen this frequently in such quick succession, basically. Because if this happens, maybe once or twice a stream, depending on how many matches there are. This has happened probably 5 times at least, where we've had at least 40 or 40-piece droughts or higher. But yeah, they're both handling it nicely. As I was trying to say, this is definitely a different situation now. Maybe Dan is, you could say maybe Dan was feeling a bit of the nerves from the possibility of sweeping the reigning champion. And now that we're in game 3, or game 4, Scuti room at hand, do you think he might be thinking to himself, oh man, this, I don't think this is going to be the reverse sweep, is it? No, hopefully he doesn't get the reverse sweep.
I find for myself that trying to zoom out in a match and think about games that you're not currently playing is not the best thing for your mental. So I'd hope for either player they're just trying to win this game specifically. But yes, sometimes that kind of thing can get to you, so it might be lingering in the back of their heads.
What do you usually think about when you're in the middle of an 18 match? You're just sort of it's enough where it's just, you have to pay a bit of attention, but you're just kind of going with the flow, making sure you don't top out early. What do you think works best for you so that you can not get too distracted, but also not get too into how to place pieces or what placements to do? Because if you do that, I feel like your stacking sometimes gets worse because you're just overthinking stuff.
Right. I think I would reveal this. Unfortunately, I did qualify for DAS Masters this month, and I think I have Scamper round 1, so I'm going to have to win that on the mental front. I'm not revealing my strategies. But yeah, sometimes you do just have to try to lock in and do what you can amidst any situation.
I think Scamper's listening right now, taking notes.
He might be.
Here we go. 380 point separation between these two. 335 for Scuti, 356 for Dan. Chen asking, what's division Kofi?
Majors? The third one?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what comes out. It's DAS Masters, Worlds.
Yeah, Worlds, then Major, then Super Circuit.
Man, I need to call somebody about these names. Why is... it's fine, I guess. 416 for Dan, 406 for Scuti. Nice long bar spin there from Dan. Microsoft naming stress, yeah. right now, Scuti with a potential, actually both players with a potential 600k transition.
Right, just kind of back and forth. I think since that drought early on, it's been pretty stable of a game for 450 at 100-ish, which is pretty good pace for tournament.
Yeah, that's kind of what I tend to expect when you get like a really bad drought early on, where you're just kind of like, maybe the RNG is trying to even out the pieces, and by doing so, maybe they it gives you a lot more long bars than it would, just to try and kind of even things out. Not perfectly, but you know, in a way like that. But there's definitely situations like what we just saw for a couple of games where you get 50-piece drought, doesn't matter. We'll give you a 40-piece drought immediately after. So
yeah, this might have been RNG's apology for previous games and earlier this game. It's looking like these players are definitely making up pace, and 604 transition possible for Dan. Scuti almost 600, 578.
it looks like Scuti was in a significant burn because he was ahead of Dan in the pace, but ended up transitioning under a 600k, which is what Dan transitioned at. But this is still anybody's game. 606 for Scuti, 631 for Dan.
Nice. Both players are stacking well, stacking clean. Scuti now has sort of a Z-Tuck set up in his stack and a bit of mess to burn down, but DanV's gotten like 3 consecutive Tetrises and taken a slight lead.
No, Scuti at 664. Dan in a bit of trouble here. Not going to be too dangerous, but it is going to cost some burns. Trying to bring his board back to a safe position. Tetris ready now as Dan bangs on a Tetris, still ahead by 47,000 points.
Right, Scuti not going to put the T aggressively in columns 8 and 9. He ends up with it in the middle of his stack, and kind of a trade-off of he gets a little bit of safety, but sometimes can kind of disconnect your stack. His stack is back in pretty good form though, and with that Tetris, he's just about made up the lead. Yeah, he has a very slight lead over Dan.
Both players... Oh, Dan, hold on. In a bit of a situation. Nice flat setup there, but still needs a good combination of pieces. Would love a Lombard to solve this dependency on column 2, but forced to close it down. Nice Tetris ready, but needs a Lombard now because the board's getting a little bit flat, but nice set of burns here to keep this safe. And it's Tetris ready. Gets a Tetris, and it's going to be okay with that double.
Yep, nice way to clean that up for Dan, just cutting his losses early, making sure he survives, and now he should be on his way down as he fills in that long bar dependency, and there we go. Yeah, just an L dependency left in his stack. Oh no. More mess for Dan now.
Yeah, very unfortunate here, but right now I think his game plan should be to just survive into 29, because Scuti is a very efficient player on the 29 speeds, even in comparison to a lot of top players. However, he's also very aggressive in these speeds. I think we saw that in game 3, I believe it was, where he was very ahead, but still played as if he was behind. So this could be either Dan's detriment or his opportunity to potentially set up a win here in game 4. He is behind by 4.5 Tetrises though.
Yeah, so at 225, Dan is in desperation mode, really wants, yep, he got the L piece just in time, and maybe another L to get down. See if he can open up the well. Does it with the long bar, another one for the Tetris.
Bars. Oh my god, that back
He has a left roll here. Okay, he got the long bar over, and with that Tetris, he's still down 124,000, but now he has a survivable stack, and he just needs to bring it down to have a chance here.
Literally, those pieces could not have come at a more perfect time. 3 Lombars in a row to not only clean out his stack, set up the Tetris, and also get the Tetris. He's still behind by over 4 Tetrises, 189,000 points behind. Scuti is Tetris ready, but goes for the safety burns. So doing a great job here, not going too aggressive. Now with 1.2 versus Dan's max out.
Yeah, Scooty's somewhat of a wizard at balancing aggression. He's always on the verge of Tetris readiness, but he's taken some burns here, and Dan's gotten one Tetris, so trying to whittle away at that lead here, but it's still 170,000 points, so it looks like Scooty's maybe expanded it since reaching kill screen.
Yeah, he did get that Tetris while Dan was still burning, so now with a 1.28 versus 1.07 for Dan, Scooty's got to be Tetris ready. Bang, that Tetris now with a 1.32. So Dan now on the ropes here in this game 4. Could this be the decider that Scuti needs? Double flips that S piece on Dan's side.
Yeah, Scuti with some more aggression, already up to D81, and using a long bar in column 9 to get Tetris ready early. If he can get this Tetris, yeah, there's a Tetris 1.4 already, and Dan is already on the verge of, is this possible to chase down? He would need to go probably pretty perfect.
Yeah, this is almost insurmountable at this point, even if mathematically it's still possible. As I say, they just about to top out. But it's a nice, I don't know if that was a Tetris, 1.17, 1.46 for Scuti. But this might just be it for Dan, and we are going to be having a decider.
Wow, what a showing from Scuti on level 29 there. Just balancing his aggression and making somewhat of a large lead completely insurmountable over the course of 29. So with that 1.48, he's going to wrap up game 4, and we are on to a decider.
Again, here do some last second warm-ups, and we have it ready from both players. So, game number 5, the first decider of this championship playoffs.
Sure.
Who will take the decider? Count it down.
3, 2, 1, Tetris. Very classic opener right here. The TS and some identical starts. See how long that's going to happen for. It's some pretty straightforward pieces just on that J. Differentiating the stacks. And
yeah, and hopefully,
yes.
I'm sure these two players are definitely hoping for at least, okay, for some reason I thought Dan's forehander was off, but he just didn't clear any lines or something. I don't know why I read it wrong, but anyway. Yeah, I'm sure both of these players are definitely hoping for some friendlier seeds, or a friendlier seed in this decider. They've definitely been putting a lot of work into maintaining their efficiency after all the droughts, all the bursts, the spires that they were forced to make, the very Tetris setups. It's, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's what you gotta do if you have to be a top player.
right. Even through my screen, I can feel the aura behind this match. You can tell Scuti is really locked in and Dan is really unfazed in the way that they're stacking. They're really both ready to put their all into this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all you can do, right? Like, you can't really afford to go for the nervous stacking, overly conservative plays. You just gotta play your own game and hope for the best and just overtake your opponent, because your opponent, regardless of what happens, they're not gonna give an inch of this decider. So you gotta give it your A game.
Right. It's Dan with a tough situation. He has so much garbage here that Neko would definitely be doing some kind of dirty well right now, but
Yeah.
Dan looking to burn it straight down.
It's gonna be okay, just gonna cost efficiency, which is not what he wants in this early 18. You know, even though there is still plenty of game to go, each line clear, each burn is still very precious under the line cap format, especially when you're going up against someone like Blue Scuti, who will not let go of the gas pedal regardless of what level he's in.
Right. It's about 200k at 50 lines, so very standard game, but Scuti has just a slight lead. He didn't have that situation at the beginning that Dan did.
Oh, Dan. Very unfortunate there. Forced him to close him down as well. Gonna cost some burns.
Yeah, it can be a little infuriating sometimes when like one misdrop like that will cause you some burns, but this time luckily it wasn't too bad, just like 2 burns and got back to Tetrising.
But Scuti right now is just, as you mentioned, he's just locked in. He gave those first 2 games, and is not planning on making that same mistake. He's definitely showing us why he's a reigning champ, why he's such a top player, and definitely a big contender to potentially take it all this season as well.
Absolutely. And with it all coming down to one game, sometimes it'll be really just like a crazy game and both players get to showcase their full skill sets. Sometimes they just crash out early and that's how the set goes, but that's really the thrill behind deciders, is either player could take it.
Yeah, the margin of error is so small, almost null, but regardless, Dan with the fairly... His efficiency is not bad at all. Taking into account all the burns he had to take early on, 373 at 94 lines, this is potential for a mid to high 500k transition, and now Scuti's the one in a bit of a situation.
Right. Good timing on the long bar though, and Scuti's all the way out after 4-ish burns. Tetris, there we go. Tetris for DanV, taking a slight lead at this point. The drought counter might be a bit bugged, but...
What? Nestor's chance?
But you can see it's just pretty neck and neck. DanV's brought this back quite well, and Scuti's just had a couple of very minor situations that have sort of watered down his pace.
Grandmaster Bureau saying Scuti needs to win because the Tetris Mafia betted heavily on him. Yeah, the documentary people are here waiting with bated breath, hoping for the Scuti storyline to unfold.
Right. Dan, wow. So he got sort of like an awkward S followed by a long bar, and he found a way to just chuck them both to the left, create a long bar dependency, and resolve it right away. And his stack is already back pretty much in order for transition. There we go. They're both going to be transitioning mid 500 range.
Agree with a slight edge, though. It's going to be a high, about a 580, I believe, with this. No, actually, it might be a 578, I believe. Yeah, 578. There you go. So slight edge here for Scuti, but still anybody's game, less than a touch of separating these 2 players. So here we go, final 19 transition of the set.
Right, and I would say the same way in the Dog Neko set, I would expect Scuti to have an edge in 29 consistency, where if I'm Dan, I'm trying to maybe take a lead as much as I can into 29 and run with my consistency as much as possible. But Scuti's just been really good at moderating his aggression throughout 29 in this set, and he's really going to be a threat in posts, so Dan's got to try his best to make up for that.
Dan in a bit of trouble here. Gets some nice sequence of pucks. Every J dependent on the left side solves the J dependency, bangs on a Tetris as Scuti having to burn. And is about to lose his lead as Dan is Tetris ready.
Here we go. This is the kind of situation Dan wants to be in, where he can be stacking cleanly, where if Scuti gets into any situation, just sort of take the lead one Tetris at a time, and now he's up 65,000 points.
Yeah, Scuti's not going to be Tetris ready. He's going to get a nice combination of pieces here. He's Tetris ready now, banging on a Tetris, 779, now stands to start burning.
And those burns from Dan, it's not going to resolve super clean, but after this, he might be able to attack that yet with an S piece, and now he's pretty much back in order.
We are back and forth with the lead. 840 for Scuti, 828 for Dan. Takes back the lead, but actually Scuti takes the Tetris first before Dan can overtake Scuti's score. So we are at level 25. Both players potential for a 1.1. Scuti might even get a 1.2.
Wow, yeah, Scuti just found quite a nice resolution to sort of an awkward situation where he had to make a hole in his stack. Scuti would have to go perfect for a 1.2 at this point, but 1.1 is absolutely on the table. For Dan it is as well if he plays efficiently.
Yeah, it was like it might be now potential high 1.1 for Scuti, but still slightly. This is neck and neck, but Scuti with a very slight lead in terms of pace. Max out for Scuti, 1.02 for Dan at level 27, and we are about to reach the final 29 transition of this set.
Here we go, coming up into 29. You want to make sure your stack is in order so that you can handle whatever pieces come at you into that transition. Dan, 224, has room for 2 more Tetrises, but he's going to wisely take that triple and Tetris into 29 at 1.112. Scuti has room for 2 more. There's 1.
So Dan ahead by 36,000 points, but misdrops a couple of pieces. Misdrops that long bar. Needs the long bar to the center. Needs it now, or this is going to be curtains for Dan. And that is going to do it. Scuti has taken the reverse sweep and will move on to the semifinals.
Wow. Great performance from Dan, but yeah, a level 30 top out. Scuti will be able to secure that in this game, and 1.1's on the board, so working up to be something great. But yeah, sometimes just like random top outs happen in the best of us. Scuti definitely earned that set, and guess he will be moving on to play Dog next time.
Yes, this is gonna be a big matchup. This is basically a rematch of the season 22 or 23 championship finals, where Dog swept Scuti, where he had just kind of started getting his footing as a top player. But now Scuti, definitely a lot more experience, has already taken a CTL title for himself, and it's going to be an exciting matchup coming up this Saturday.
Absolutely. So, GG's to all 4 players. Dog, Neko, Scuti, and Dan put on an absolute show today, and Scuti just putting the cherry on top with this right now 1.5 and 35. Jeez.
Oh, Sunday, not Saturday. Noted. Thank you, Keith. I don't know why I messed it up. But... Tristop needs 5 minutes. Kofi, let me know if you want to do a third match as well. I think. If not, it's
okay.
Fine as well.
I think I might have to go eat probably, so that I might not be in the best shape to keep commentating. Was Eyeball gonna come on? I thought.
Yeah, I think Kingsman said
okay.
Eyeball would come definitely for the 4th match. I don't know about the 3rd match, but we'll see.
Okay, if he's gonna be late, I could probably do one more. But
Dog still burns down.
What is crazy is I said Neko had 4 burns for 1.3 in a kill screen, and he's taken a single burn since 25, and he got the 1.3 in a kill screen with like 2 burns to spare there. A bit of spaghetti on his stack, but he's eating it down, I guess.
Yeah, this is gonna be a very crucial set of first few levels for Neko. If he can survive